We did our 2-week advisory unit on friendship.
And our statement of rationale, I'm just going to boil this down because that is a lot of words. Basically, in accordance with the middle school philosophy, we're going to tackle friendship on the social, emotional, and intellectual fronts. We want to tackle friendship on the social front because it's pretty much a social issue. Building good friendships is actually going to help them professionally and academically in all sorts of different areas of their life. Emotionally, it's a very critical time for a lot of kids at this age. They're just really discovering what their emotions are at this point. And now you're going to put friends in with that, which are an emotional roller coaster in and of themselves. So we really need to help them cope with that sort of thing. Intellectually, if we can help them build some pro-social and some positive social influences, that's only going to make the overall environment more positive, which is actually going to help them academically. So we're just going to try to tackle those 3 areas with this.
All right, for our unit introductions, this is days 1 and 2. We're going to start with a KWL chart. Everybody knows what that is. What they know about friendship, what they want to know about friendship. We'll leave the L, what they learned for the very end, for the last day. They're also going to complete a My Friends worksheet. So-and-so is my friend because. So they'll say, Felicia is my friend because she's always really nice to me. And they'll think of 3 friends, and then they'll write for each one of those friends why they're their friend, just to get them thinking about it. It's not anything I'd take a grade on. I'm not going to grade them and say, oh, well, you said she's your friend because she gives you candy. Well, that's an A, but she's your friend because she smiles at you. That's a B at least. So it'd just be something to get them thinking why they're friends with certain people. And then everybody in here, almost everyone in here is in Clyde Self's class on Monday night, right? Remember the Beanie Baby toss? We're so doing that. So I encourage you to that. That would be our day 2 activity, because just to get them going, get them working as a team, get them talking to people they've never seen before, and get those Beanie Babies flying through the air.
Okay, on day 3, we're actually just going to find out exactly what a good friend is, and we're going to start off by watching a 10-minute clip out of a video I found called Big Changes, Big Choices. This is a video series that I think pretty much everyone in here probably could have used. If you can find a copy, any copy, I think there's like 12 volumes, and it covers everything from our topic to bullying to everything under the sun. We're going to focus in on the friendship portion. And what's really neat about this is it actually takes a gentleman that was a former child probation officer, but he's also a stand-up comedian. So rather than trying to connect to kids as being, hey, I'm one of you, I mean, he's just really being silly, and that really seemed to work with the kids that were in this group. And what he does is he goes over 11 characteristics of what a good friend is. And I didn't put them on the slide because it would just be enormous. But the kids would kind of be given a note-taking sheet that they're going to write down what these characteristics are as they're watching the video. And then what's going to happen is once they get these 11 characteristics, we're going to divide the class up into groups of 4. And I had this assuming that we were, fully stocked with kids, kids all over the room. So groups of 4, and what they're going to do is they're going to be assigned one of these characteristics. Like, for example, one of the characteristics was, good friends take into account of their friends' emotional, well-being and their sensitivity to that. So what's going to happen is each of these groups is going to get a topic. Then the groups are going to sit around and brainstorm about their topic. And then they're going to collect all their ideas. And then they're going to take these ideas home and write a paragraph about it to kind of organize their thoughts. Okay? Then the next day, we're going to come back and we're going to get back in these same groups. And they're actually going to look at all their ideas and anything else that they would have come up with in their paragraph project. And they're going to pick what they believe are the best 4 ideas that they come up with. Then what's going to happen is these groups are all going to go up front with their 4 best ideas, and they're actually going to present these to the class. Now each group member is responsible for one of the ideas, and then each group's going to get about 3 or 4 minutes to present. So by the end of the day, everyone's going to get up front, everyone's going to take a turn kind of teaching the class, and then all of those 11 topics are going to be touched on for the day.
All right, we're going into now days 5 and 6. We learned about what makes a good friend. It's important to know what makes a bad friend, because kids at this age really aren't sure. some things are happening to them, they don't know that, hey, that, you know, that's not cool, that, you know, a friend would not do that to you. Using a book that I had when I was in middle school, it helped me, as nerdy as that sounds. It identified 5 types of bad friendships: the user, the me-aholic, the control freak, the gossip, and the backstabber. Pretty much self-explanatory. The user uses you for things you have. Like if you have an indoor pool, they're going to use you for it. The me-aholic is all about me, doesn't care about you. The control freak wants to do everything. It's their decision. You have no say. If we're going to the movies, we're going to the movies because that's what I want to do. The gossip, it's kind of like a Mean Girls thing, spreads rumors, doesn't, you know, isn't saying nice things about you behind your back. And then the backstabber, who will, you know, kind of two-face you, do one thing, say the other. They're going to do this, they're going to learn about this through role-playing. I'd actually pull in 2 other teachers who would role-play different situations, one being the bad friend and one being the good friend. And then I, as the teacher, would tell them, okay, this is what they're doing, this is why they're a user, this is why they're being a control freak. And then the students would identify this, and then they'd actually get a chance to role-play themselves in groups of 3. One person being the bad friend, one the good, and then one person who would identify what situation they're acting out.
Okay, days 7 and 8 are actually going to deal with breaking up with friends. A lot of kids at this age don't really understand that friends aren't forever. They kind of have that BFF is reality myth, and they think that they have to stick through everything through thick and thin, even if it's not really a positive for them. They're going to start off watching a clip from the Today Show with a psychotherapist, this Dr. Robbie Ludwig. And in the beginning of this clip, she goes over 3 warning signs that it may be time to get out of this friendship. First sign is if you feel devalued or put down by a friend, if you can't trust or are often hurt by a friend, or if you don't feel good about yourself when you're with this friend or after you've done some sort of activity with this friend. If you're not really proud of what you've done with this friend, it's probably time to get out. And then what we would do is I had written in the lesson plan 3 sort of 6 to 10 line role-playing sessions where we'd take volunteers from the class and then they would act out these scenarios. And each one of these scenarios, I wrote 3 of them, and one goes with each warning sign. So we'd have the kids come up, they'd act it out, and then once they've acted it out, that would kind of act as a springboard for a class discussion. Okay, what types of things are we seeing here? Is the first person, you know, being fair to the second person? Those sorts of things. And then at the end of the day, the students would actually be assigned to write their own scenario based on this. So they would go home and they would, I would give them a copy of all 3 scripts so that they would have the examples that we used in class along with the 3 warning signs, or so we can put those together and have some sort of, concrete example for them to use. Then day 8, once we've decided on day 7 whether or not we're going to break up with friends, this is how we actually go about it. And we go back to that same interview from the Today Show, only a little bit further along, where she actually goes through some steps in actual breaking up with the friends. So you decide what, if any, kind of relationship can be had. You have to figure out whether or not you want no contact, or if they're going to go from being a best friend to more of a casual friend. So once you make that decision, secondly, you got to give yourself time to think about it. So you kind of have to separate yourself from the situation so you can kind of clear your head and look at this thing in a little bit more clear frame of mind. The third is don't initiate contact. If you're struggling with trying to figure out whether or not you're going to end with a friendship, you're certainly not going to want to go to the movies with them or a dance or anything like that. That also is another way of trying to keep yourself clear on the situation. When you finally do decide to have the conversation, you let them know where you're coming from. And the most important thing here is to be calm. This is normally where you're going to get the screaming and the fighting and the clawing and the hair pulling. So if we can really get through to the kids that it's really important to be calm here. And then also the 5th step is to avoid further damage by assigning blame. You can't just walk up to somebody and say, I'm not your friend because you're stupid and you're mean to me. Then we're probably going to be rolling into the potential violent situations. And also, if you don't assign blame, there's also the possibility that at some point, once you guys have kind of had some separation, that you might actually find your way back to each other at some point. Whereas if you're assigning blame and you're going about this in a mean way, you know, you're probably not going to have any hope of coming back to them at all. And then what we would do is we'd finish the day with a simulation activity. We would have these 5 steps also on a study sheet like we had with the other one. And we would have a volunteer come to the front, and they would have their steps, and then I would play the role, or the teacher would play the role of the friend that's being broken up with, so I can kind of throw some curveballs at them. And then what's really neat about this is something that can be repeated over and over. The teacher can actually give different responses to these, you know, to these steps to see, you know, if the kids really are understanding what it is that we're trying to do.
Right. Days 9 and 10 are our unit culmination. We're going to start off by making a list of 101 things that friends do, either together, for each other, good qualities, good friendship ideas. They're going to get in groups. They're going to brainstorm for about 5 to 10 minutes. We're going to come together. The teacher's going to write each one of them down, or you can have a student, if you have a student who's really, you know, likes to get out, likes to do things for the teacher, they can write them down too on a big, huge list of paper, like a giant sheet of butcher board, or butcher paper on the board. They would write these 101 things down. We'd make sure we came up with 101 different ideas, different things that friends do. It's really not that hard. Then we would build on the second, well, starting at the end of the day, but going on to the second, we would build a friendship tree that we would put actually out in the hallway. The teacher would make the trunk out of brown paper, and then the kids, each one would get, depending on how many kids are in the class, 3 to 4 different ideas, and they would put their hand on green construction paper and cut it out, and then they would write the idea on it, the thing, one of the 101 things friends do. And they'd write it down, and then we'd tape it up on the wall, and we'd make this giant tree for everybody in the school to see outside, that these are the good, the positive things that friends do for each other, with each other. We'd finish up the friendship KWL chart, you know, what they learned, just get some ideas from the classroom, just shout it out. It's nothing formal they have to write down. And then we do our little unit assessment rubric. It's really hard to see because I had to like shrink 2 pages into 1. But basically they would kind of, we really liked the idea of the guide or the example that you sent us of them, because it seemed perfect. You know, why reinvent the wheel? So just, you know, circling, 5 being, you know, I strongly agree, that's the best, 1 being like, I strongly disagree, you know, it's the worst. Just circling how they felt about it, if that helped them, if they thought it was interesting, just kind of like an end review for us. It's not really a test for them, but it's for us as teachers to know, was this helpful? What do they need changed? What did they like most? What did they like least? They have to list at least 2 of those. And then anything they found particularly useful. And then these are all of our references we used, just in case. We used a lot of, I used a lot of books that I found in the library. They're actually for special ed students in the high school setting, but a lot of them can really just be adapted right down to the middle school. And then I had some books, and we used a couple just internet clips and resources and things like that. So.